Today, I want to talk about the correlation between your physical appearance and how you feel on the inside about yourself. So, I truly believe that the body is a direct representation of how we feel about ourselves. So, if you were to look at yourself in the mirror naked, what you see in the mirror, is it a reflection of how you feel about yourself on the inside? Because I believe it is, and I'm going to explain why. The way that we treat our body has a direct correlation with our mind, okay? Because our mind feeds off our body, one. The chemicals that our mind produces that make us feel good are based on what we're doing and how we're exerting our body. So if we want endorphins to be released, we want something that makes us feel good. Going to the gym allows us to feel good, allows certain chemicals to be released. But also, there are, and this is often controversial, there are certain chemicals that your body cannot release based on the amount of body fat you have. It's just proven that if you are too overweight, you are going to be prevented from releasing X amount of chemicals that make us feel good and positive about ourselves in our brain. Now, by overweight, I don't mean Ronnie Coleman off season. He's 300 and something pounds because he's continuously working out. I mean the person who is just so overweight, not taking care of themselves, hitting the McDonald's 4 or 5 times a day. So if we are treating ourselves with respect, our body is the only home that we have to live. We can't get a new one, okay? So therefore, we need a good body to take our mind where it wants to go. We could have these grand visions and goals and dreams, but if you don't have a body to take it there, we're never going to get there. So with that being said, any of us fathers or even mothers, but especially as fathers, we have to be that role model for our children. So if we want our kids to exceed, be good at sports, if we want them to exceed the expectations that we have for ourselves, we have to therefore role model that. We need to demonstrate what it is to be disciplined, demonstrate what it is to have self-control, and don't indulge on all these sweets and fast food. Don't indulge on the candy, eating extra potatoes every night to where it compounds and you were 150 pounds in high school and now you're 240 as a father because you're just overweight. And I would hope every father and or mother out there wants their kid to be even better than they are. So me, for instance, I work out every day because all the health benefits, one, but two is because I want to be able to kick my kids. I have 2 sons. I want to be able to kick their butt at any sport, any physical activity, hiking, football, wrestling, any of that for as long as I can, because it's only going to push them to want to be able to beat me. We play checkers. I want to dominate them at checkers, chess, anything. And if I expect them to be far better than I am or far better than any of the other neighborhood kids, I have to make sure that I am demonstrating that work. So one of the things is constantly going to the gym. They know that I get up at 0:30 to go to the gym. With that being said, me and my wife have even talked about investing into a home gym. And I don't mean just getting a couple workout things. I mean literally putting together a strength-focused, powerlifting-esque gym in the garage, completely remodeling it and putting in a gym so that our kids can physically see the work that we're putting in every single day. So they can hear the clanking of the iron on the concrete floor that we are putting in every single morning. You know, my son waking up to dad deadlifting every day and demonstrating the discipline, the consistency. So therefore, they are striving to be like mom or dad, because so many kids are. Majority of kids want to be like mom or dad, even if it's subconsciously. And if you are overweight, I promise your kids are going to be overweight. Majority of the little shits who you see who are obese, which I believe is child abuse, their parents are also overweight and obese. So we got to be that demonstration. So by us putting in a home gym, our children are going to be able to physically see, they're going to be able to watch, they're going to be wanting to participate. My older boy, he already wants to come to the gym, but by the time I'm at the gym, he's still sleeping. And now am I going to wake him up to go at this age of his? No, I'm not going to wake him up to go to the gym with me yet. So we are the demonstration. We are laying that foundation for how our kids are going to be. Now, when they're 18, 25, are they going to make their own choices, become who they want to be? Yeah. Are they going to maybe get mixed up in the fast food pleasures? Very well could be. But if we set the foundation now, we can probably bet that they won't. With that being said, it is 2024. So therefore, if you look at 100 years ago, 1920, any videos, any pictures, you see zero fat people. Like no one's even chubby. So I think we need to take a step back and go, are we going to continue to take the government's advice on what is healthy for us? Or are we going to go to, let's just go back to our roots, which was just whole foods, okay? Eating high quality protein, red meats, high quality proteins. There's no more vitamins or minerals in any ounce of food that you can even get other than red meat. You know, if you wanted to eat fruits, having fruits, you know, get out of the processed foods. Because if we look at that food pyramid, it was 8 to 10 servings of all your breads and grains. You know, you keep going up and it's all these essentially foods that are processed that they want us to initially start having. And the sugar industry is pretty much taken over. So had the sugar industry taken over in the 1920s? No, not yet. Not yet. Look at the history of that and how they paid Harvard professors to lie about saturated fats and the correlations to heart disease versus sugar. And it is documented that Harvard professors were paid $300,000, which doesn't seem like that much money, but at the time was a lot. So, 100 years ago, no even chubby people. Now, it is absolutely insane. I also want to point out that I'm not poking my finger at any of those thick boys at the gym who are just absolute animals and they're just big fucking dudes. You know, maybe you can't really see their abs, but they are putting in the work. I'm not saying everybody needs to be skinny, because you need your the guys who are just straight units at the gym who are big. You need your freaking linebackers, okay? We need those dudes in the world. Get on the squad. This is to those guys who just are completely just overweight, trashing their bodies, don't have any sense of how much calories they're putting in, and that they have a fork and knife problem. Let's be an example for our kids. Another one, pastors. Yes, I said pastors at the church and people in leadership positions. If you are a pastor at a church and you are really overweight, not putting the work in the gym, not putting in the road work for the cardio, you know, you have no discipline when it comes to that fork and knife, I want you to think about that. You're demonstrating to the congregation that you have no self-control, no self-discipline, and that you like to indulge. So how are we supposed to take that. And now, on a conscious level, most people probably do not care. But on a subconscious level, if the person who is leading us doesn't need to have self-control, doesn't need to have discipline, and can indulge on his favorite sweets, subconsciously, how are we supposed to react as people who are following you? You're in a position of leadership. Subconsciously, is it okay for us to always just have those extra bite or two? To not worry about this because Jesus is going to take care of us. Well, in the time of Jesus, there was no fat people. And anyone who says, well, yeah, they were eating lentils, it's like, or they just knew that it wasn't about pleasure when it came to eating. It wasn't about indulging. Okay? It wasn't about eating all these fast foods, all these processed foods that we get pleasure from. So anyone who says that they were eating lentils as the excuse, well, that's a shitty excuse, because they were also fasting, and fasting for numerous days. Whether it was by choice because you were diving into prayer and you wanted to fast, and like Matthew says, you weren't making your face look all contorted so people felt bad for you for fasting, or they were fasting because they had to. Our body, we can fast for a long time. I did an entire week fast the beginning of this year and the beginning of last year. It's great. You don't even feel bad. So again, people in positions of power and leadership, how is it that you can really lead people when you're really overweight? Again, I'm not talking about the athletic football guy who's just who is really big. You know, who's putting in the work in the weight room, working out multiple times a day. I'm not talking about those kind of guys. So let's make that clear. But to the pastors who are overweight, who got the skinny legs and the skinny arms and a big old gut, and they have to wear XXL, XXL shirts just because of that gut, and so no one sees that you got man boobs. I know this is maybe superficial, or someone might say that's a worldly thing. But if we go back in history, being fat, indulging on food, having an excess amount of food is a very new thing. A very new thing. So you are being worldly by being overweight. So you should look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm leading people of this church. Maybe I should demonstrate discipline and leadership, and that I have self-control over the fork and knife. That I am taking care of my body because my body is a temple. Yeah, let's not thrash the body. God gave us one body. Let's take care of it. Okay? Especially those who are in the position of leadership. I mean, the historical perspectives on this, I mean, for thousands and thousands of years, whether you believe that we kind of became civilized 13,000 years ago, or whether you're in the kind of Graham Hancock field where they believe we had civilizations for hundreds of thousands of years, they weren't fat. None. So let's work on that, society. If you're watching this podcast, I'm not doing this to make you feel bad. I'm doing this to be honest with you because I love you. I love every human because we are created in the image of God. I love you all, and I want every single one of us to be the best that we can be because we were created perfectly in God's image, perfectly how we are. And then we made ourselves overweight. We made ourselves broke. We made ourselves assholes. Okay? Any of those, it was because the choices that we are making. We are depressed because of us. Okay? Any one of those. So I'm being the one who truly loves you by pointing these things out, which is point it back out at me if you feel like there's anything that I'm doing to lead my life astray. So when we're talking about this body image, am I body shaming? No, I am body loving you to live to your highest potential. Okay? We should be stressing the the health aspect. We should be having conversations with our neighbors, with our friends, with our community group of how we can collectively be healthier. Do you know someone who has chickens, has eggs, and they're corn-free, soy-free? How do we as a community be like, you know what, you guys have some chickens? We bought a half a cow or a whole cow. It's in our freezer. It's grass-fed, grass-finished from a local ranch. We'll trade you guys some meat, and every week just give us a handful of eggs. Egg is a superfood. Maybe you find someone local who has dairy cows and you're getting raw milk. I mean, the resources are out there, and I'm sure as a community, someone can find someone who can do a lot of these things. Maybe you know someone who is part of a co-op, or you didn't know because you never asked, and they have fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, think about it from the kid's perspective. If you want to poison your body, that's fine. But poisoning your kid's body because they don't know any better and you do, that's a whole nother ballgame. That is. Why would we be getting our children addicted? Why are we giving them Slurpees after practice? You are essentially giving your children crack, and you're the one providing it. You're the dealer. And the reason why I'm associating with crack is because there's been numerous studies on mice where they'll take mice, they'll have cocaine, heroin, and sugar, and the mice will go to the sugar. They would prefer the sugar because of how addictive it is. Then they put electric probes on the entrance of the sugar, and they wanted it so bad they were willing to get shocked to get to the sugar versus trying to go get the cocaine or the heroin. That's how addictive sugar is. So therefore, when you're that parent who's saying like it's not that bad because it's socially acceptable, it's socially everywhere, and your kid's a chubby little shit, or maybe your kid isn't chubby. Maybe your kid is just lean and mean. I know I was skinny as heck when I was a little kid. I was really fat as a baby and as a toddler, and then I just shot up and got skinny as a stick. So if your kid is skinny as a stick and addicted to sugar, there's just a whole other level of problems. Just because your kid isn't fat doesn't mean that they don't have problems. They have the same problems. They're addicted to the sugar and to the sweets, and how that food reacts in our brain and gives us those cravings. It's not good. Poison your body if you so choose to, because you'd rather not feel good. But why do it to our kids? We got to think about that. So if we're going to look at the well-being of our mental state, well-being of our body, and how we're going to correlate those and make a change. Anyone who's listening to this and who's married, you're going to have to get your spouse on board. Otherwise, it's going to be hard, because it's hard when one person wants to eat crap and you're trying to eat good. It can make a little power struggle. And then the kids, they're probably going to want to eat the crap just like the other spouse is. And you're going to have to try and make that decision as a unit. Say, hey, we're together, we are yoked. So let's figure this out. Let's figure out how we can be healthy together, how we could help motivate one another to be our best selves. I mean, if you and your spouse, or you as an individual, are stepping up your game, just think about all the benefits. If you're in a relationship and you guys both get in great shape, think about how much better your sex is going to be. Big one. Okay? Think about how much more energy you're going to have for that spouse, for your workplace, for your children. You will have more energy. Okay, you're going to be focusing on your sleep now because you don't want it to hinder your workouts. You're not going to want it to hinder anything. You probably won't be staying up as late. because you're just, eating a bowl of Rocky Road every night in bed watching Netflix, you're probably going to want to get your sleep, because it's a snowball effect. When you really start to take care of your body, then you're like, how else can we take care of our body? So we can go to the gym, we can eat well, we can start getting our sleep, we can start having amazing sex with our spouse, and then we're going to start reading, get in the mind, right? You're going to be listening to different podcasts instead of listening to true crime. You're going to say, okay, how can I take my mind even further? I want to learn about finances. I want to learn about real estate investments. I want to learn about stock options. It's a snowball effect. And when you are taking care of your body, people are going to notice the change, and they're going to be like, what are you doing? I want some of what you have. And you're going to be like, well, started to eat right, started to get good sleep. Me and my wife started going to the local church. We're diving into this guy named God, Yahweh, Jesus. And now we feel better. Think about all the pluses, because there's a whole lot of pluses that go on when you start taking care of yourself physically. You're going to be like, how can I get more of this good feeling? So bring your spouse along, or if you're single, young, old, no matter what, think about that. And then let's think about the long-term benefits. The cognitive function decline when we don't have muscle mass. The cognitive function decline when we don't have grip strength. Bone density when we're not building up that bone density, when we're not putting compound movements on our bones, they're going to get fragile. You're more susceptible to a broken hip if you aren't doing your powerlifting moves. Yep, that's what I'm saying. We're going to be getting older, so we got to still be doing those squats, maybe some deadlifts, lifting heavy. Look it up. Dr. Peter Attia, he openly talks about this, the benefits of powerlifting, especially when it comes to bone density. The cognitive function decline is a real thing, except it is highly reduced when we are lifting heavy weights. Grip strength. Here's one for you. We all know that gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans are far stronger pound per pound than the human, except when it comes to grip strength. That's right. Us humans, pound per pound, have a greater grip strength than the gorilla, the chimpanzee, the monkeys. Okay? You might think like, what? How? Why? Well, for hundreds of thousands of years, we've had to carry everything. We still can carry everything. I was doing farmer's carries today, 205 pounds in each hand, going down and back a haul that's 50 feet, 50 feet. Might be a little more. I think it's like 70. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying I'm just a dad. And it's just picking up stuff, holding it in your hands, walking. Peter Attia talks about how we should be able to walk 2 minutes straight with our body weight in our hands. So if you're 300 pounds, 150 in each hand, and be able to walk for 3 minutes. But I'm sure unless you're a power lifter, football player, some sort of athlete in the gym and you're 300 pounds, you're not doing that. So if you're a 200-pound man, you should be able to walk with 100 pounds in each hand for 2 minutes without stopping. So and that's just a baseline for the average person who's 40 years old. So when we think about these things, where are we in our lives with baseline movements? Can we deadlift our body weight for 10 reps? It's a baseline movement according to Peter Attia. And the reason I refer you to Peter Attia is because he has put his heart and soul, his whole medical practice, into longevity. Okay? Heart and soul, your medical practice is solely focused on longevity. So, that's why I reference Peter Attia. So we should be doing some sort of powerlifting, heavy, 3 to 5 to 6 rep range, because if we're just in the gym going through the motion, it's better than nothing. You are going to see, if you go from 0 to lifting 3 days a week, even in the gym, just going through some motions, you are going to see so much more progress than the person who's casually been going to the gym for a couple of years without a program and then they really step it up. That person who's been doing nothing, who goes 3 times and is doing some workouts, you're going to see a massive amounts of results, and it's going to have such a positive impact of your life in the later years. So we gotta think grip strength, powerlifting, all associated with the lack of cognitive decline. That's good. Let's think about, we don't want Alzheimer's. We don't want to just be vegetabilized. And now we're, things like Alzheimer's are considered type 3 diabetes. Oh, they're associated. So now we even got to look into what we're eating even more, because they're realizing that type 3 diabetes is related to your diet. And that has to do with our brain function, brain vitality. So we live in a world today in 2024, again, where we have access to all this information. It's whether we want to implement any of it. And if you don't know, then you don't know, and I don't blame anybody. But how do we start, and where do we start? And I promise you, it's a rabbit hole that you will enjoy if you actually start eating good. So I'm just going to tell you, eat a bunch of high quality meat, grass-fed, grass-finished. Here's a little plug. You can go to blacklabelmeatcompany.com and order yourself some grass-fed, grass-finished, no glyphosates ever used on that ranch, regenerative. And you can go get some organic fruits. If you're a bread person, I know Sprouts, they have a sourdough bread that has literally 3 ingredients and no folic acid. If you feel like you got to have carbs for some reason, other than fruits, do a white rice. And there's even certain white rices that are tested for their arsenic levels. You can get some with low arsenic levels. Rinse the crap out of that. Get some organic sweet potatoes if you need, if you must. But I would just leave it to good quality meats, eggs, corn-free, soy-free, raw dairies, good organic fruits, and a white rice or sweet potato. Okay? Use those. You can even add some yogurts, some raw honey. Raw honey is great. There's a lot of good things. And then find a cookbook that specializes in those and start cooking. You'll be doing great. Get your kids in that habit. Getting your kids to eat with you. Don't worry, they will when you start only making that, because you're not a housemaid. You're not a sous chef. You don't just make something different for everybody. So you make your meals, make your dinner. Your kids will jump on board because they won't want to starve. And trust me, once you start eating better and your kids realize this is the only thing to eat and that they feel really good on it, they'll come around. Just let them not eat for a couple days. It'll be good for them. So we're going to start working out. We're going to start eating good. We're going to start encouraging those who we love around us to do the same. And now, I say we leave it at that. I think that's a good spot. Let's go out there. Let's live our best life possible. Think about the long game. Jocko Willink likes to say discipline equals freedom. If we are disciplined now in this area of life, we will have the freedom to not be old, wheelchair bound, crippled. We are going to greatly reduce any of those old stereotypes of once you age, you're going to have and be XYZ. It's like, well, fucking not me, motherfucker. I am going to and have been taking care of myself and I'm going to continue to take care of myself more diligently every single day, to therefore those side effects gone. I'm going to just be old and be a bad man. And I encourage you to as well. All right, till the next one. Out.